and thank you for joining us again at Voice of Rohingya Radio, a registered non-profit coming to you from the state of Oregon in the United States of America. I would like to thank all of our listeners who allow this program to continue to provide the latest news through our exclusive interviews, reports from inside the border, and reputable sources from around the world. If you would like to stay up to date with our program, you can view or download all of our broadcasts online at youtube.com/VORradio, or you can join our Facebook page to find information on past and future programs. It is September 7th, 2014. For Voice of Rohingya Radio, I am your host, Zach Taylor. Over 25,000 people attended the 51st Convention of the Islamic Society of North America, which was held at the Cobo Convention Center in Detroit, Michigan, with President Jimmy Carter acting as a keynote speaker. Among the numerous events at the convention, there were two Rohingya events. The exhibition on the plight of the Rohingya was presented by Arakan Rohingya Union in association with Global Alliance for Protection of Rohingya Women and Children and the ARU's Global Rohingya Center during the three-day event. A special session on Rohingya political and human rights in Burma was also convened on August 30th. The exhibition booth of the Arakan Rohingya Union was stationed adjacent to Muslim Aid America. The ARU exhibition was conducted by Sarah Naeem Uddin, the director of GAP-ROWC, and Asma Ahmed, the country coordinator of MAA, conducted the Muslim Aid America exhibition. Additionally, information on Rohingya political and human rights issues were displayed at the exhibition booths of the Burma Task Force, Islamic Relief, and Helping Hands. Some of the highlights at the ARU booth included the background history of the indigenous Rohingya people dating back to several centuries in the Rohang region of Arakan State in Burma, the ethnic cleansing of Rohingya and the major human rights violations in Arakan, and the growing militancy and terror campaigns against Rohingya and Pathai Myanmar Muslims by the radical groups in Arakan and elsewhere in Burma. Visitors to the booths were deeply touched by the suffering of the Rohingya people in IDP camps that are currently living under horrendous conditions and open-sky prisons of Rohingya villages in various townships in Arakan. Numerous attendees, including young generations of American Muslim men and women, signed up for volunteering in Rohingya political and human rights work for the Arakan Rohingya Union in the United States. In other news, an 8-member delegation of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, led by Malaysian former Minister Said Ahmed Albar, wrapped up a 2-day trip to Arakan state capital Sittwe on Thursday after visiting camps for internally displaced persons and meeting with local Arakanese officials and civil society groups. But local authorities have complained that they were not properly informed of the OIC's visit and again turned down the Islamic bloc's request to establish a president in the state, which has suffered from deadly bouts of interreligious violence between Buddhists and Muslims for more than 2 years. Arakanese state officials have told DVB media that they were told an informal group was due to visit the region, but they had not been prepared for an official delegation from the 57-member state bloc. The chief minister updated them on the situation in Rakhine State and explained that we are not yet ready to accept OIC, a state information officer said. We are currently working on nationality verification. If that is successful, we will start working on IDP rehabilitation. The chief minister said that, when we come to the issue of rehabilitation, we will seek opinions from the public. If they are willing to accept OIC assistance, then we will permit them to become involved. He said the OIC delegation did not discuss details but listened to local opinions, including input from town elders, women's groups, and a youth network. Radio Free Asia reported on Thursday that the OIC had offered to build a hospital and other facilities, but that the local government said the projects cannot be implemented until stability is restored following communal violence. Amidst many international and national reports on the new citizenship verification process taking root in Rakhine, which is threatening the ancestral rights of the Rohingya people by substituting their deep Burmese heritage with the cheapened and inaccurate label of Bengali immigrant, we've received a report from a Rohingya man involved in the issue. Here's what he had to say on the new program. Rohingyas of Arakan are under the threat of total racial obliteration at the hand of the Myanmar immigration. It is not new to the United Nations and international community that Rohingyas, while living in their ancestral home of Arakan, are being systematically rendered from statelessness to foreigners by the application of the 1982 citizenship law. It has become clear that Rohingyas are being herded into the abyss of racial extermination, while the world has become a silent witness to this ethnic cleansing. For the last month, Rohingyas have resisted complying with this sinister plan, but, by force, everyone is being compelled to be enlisted as Bengali. Immigration workers, with the help of police, security forces, and the army, are using brutal tactics to force Rohingya to enlist as Bengalis. Travel and economic activities are restricted so that people are forced to comply with the enlistment. Truckloads of army, police, and security forces roam in and around the Rohingya locality to frighten Rohingya into compliance. Hopes are already fading, and a sense of helplessness has enshrouded the towns and villages. Village after village is under threat, and there is no way to resist the onslaught. Soon the entire Rohingya population will be turned into a vast Bengali population. Our source continued. After the ongoing transformation into the Bengali race, another citizenship scrutiny campaign will commence. On the basis of a Bengali racial identity, the Muslim Rohingya population is to be determined as non-national and of foreign origin. On the basis of this fact, the Bengali will be put into the category of needing to apply for citizenship. Next, the application for citizenship will be examined by a lower to higher level departments, and the decision will come as a yes or no. The so-deemed Bengali who gets yes will have to wait for naturalized citizenship only after filling a form. The form is the testimony of the acceptance of the Bengali label and foreign origin. The form is an application for citizenship to apply as a foreigner. The ones who receive a no will remain stateless and have to live as a refugee in the country unless another country offers them asylum. It is feared that the majority of the population will be put into the category of no. Our source suggests that for the sake of a breakthrough, international community, including the United Nations, should find a neutral racial name that is acceptable to all parties. Bengali is an alien name and unacceptable to all Rohingyas. A compromising formula can be found on this crucial issue if only the government is sincere. Our source finished with 8 requests to stabilize Rakhine's state and end the persecution of the Rohingya. Firstly, the ongoing Bengalization process needs to be cancelled. Secondly, the enforcement of the 1982 citizenship law needs to be stopped. Third, by applying 1948 citizenship law, all Rohingyas can be issued genuine nationality cards. 4. A compromise needs to be chalked out with regards to an ethnic title acceptable to Rohingya people. 5. All travel, economic, educational, religious, and political restrictions are to be lifted. 6. All intimidation of Rohingyas is to be stopped. 7. All unlawful activities and terrorization are to be stopped. And lastly, conducting population checks at gunpoint and excessive use of force needs to cease. He added that Rohingyas living in Arakan must urge the United Nations and other member countries to put pressure on Myanmar to stop all anti-Rohingya activities and create a congenial atmosphere where all communities can live together amicably. You are listening to Voice of Rohingya Radio. Thanks again for listening to Voice of Rohingya Radio, a registered non-profit organization coming to you from the state of Oregon in the United States of America. I am your host, Zach Taylor. Government officials have moved to distance themselves from media reports that Myanmar would resettle thousands of Rohingya currently residing in Bangladesh, highlighting the continued rift between the countries on the repatriation process, which has been stalled since 2005. Reports from Bangladesh and Myanmar media over the weekend said that Myanmar had agreed to allow around 2,000 Rohingya refugees to be repatriated following discussions between the Bangladeshi Foreign Secretary and the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in Dhaka. The Daily Star, an English-language broadcast based in Dhaka, hailed the development in an editorial calling it a very positive move. The DP for Foreign Affairs was quoted in state media on September 4th saying that, with regard to the term Rohingya, I explained to the State Minister for Home Affairs during our meeting that we have never had ethnic nationals called Rohingya, according to the official list of indigenous ethnic groups of Myanmar as well as our historical records. He said the use of the term Rohingya by Bangladeshi officials could damage relations between the two countries. The DP added that due to the amount of time that had passed, the verification process would have to be reconducted to ensure they are still eligible. A joint working group would also need to be established with Bangladesh for the process to move forward, casting considerable doubt on claims from Bangladeshi officials that the process would be able to start within the next 2 months. According to the UNHCR, there are between 200,000 and 500,000 self-described Rohingya in Bangladesh. About 32,000 refugees are documented and living in 2 government camps near Cox's Bazar on the Myanmar-Bangladesh border, while the rest are stateless. However, concerns remain over the repatriation process, particularly for Muslims returning to Rakhine State. Judith Kefkin, U.S. Senior Advisor on Myanmar, said in February that Myanmar is not yet ready to accept repatriated Rohingya refugees and warned that pushing Rohingya to return to Rakhine State would place them in, quote, a very dangerous situation. In other news, Myanmar's Union Election Commission said Sunday that it was canceling by-elections planned for later this year to fill 35 empty parliamentary seats. Commission Chairman Tin Ai made the surprise announcement at a media briefing in Yangon. Reasons he gave included preparations for the 2015 general election, Myanmar's duties hosting the Summit of Association of Southeast Asian Nations in November, and an election law that says political parties must field at least 3 candidates or cease to exist, a requirement he described as burdensome for the country's 67 political parties. Tin Ai also said the next year's elections would most likely take place in November, the most specific time mentioned so far. Nhan Ween, a spokesperson for the democracy icon Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy party, said that while it wasn't good that the commission had decided to cancel the by-elections, the NLD supports the decision because it was not enthusiastic about them. Myanmar's legislature has 224 members in the upper house and 440 in the lower house. 25% of each house is occupied by military appointees. A lower-than-expected population count is taking some of the shine off Myanmar, compelling current and hopeful investors to reassess what profits they can expect out of the frontier market. An official census released Saturday found the population of the country was 51.4 million, significantly lower than the 60 million estimates that the Myanmar government has touted in recent years, as it started emerging from decades of economic isolation. The larger figures have been cited by companies hoping to tap the country's domestic consumer market. For new investors whom the Myanmar government is actively trying to court, the smaller population might make them rethink the size and scale of their investments. One upside for the country, experts say, is that the new data are also likely to boost per capita gross domestic product figures, with a smaller base for the country's GDP, estimated at 51.8 million in 2013, according to the World Bank. Some companies see another silver lining in the small population estimate. Mr. Yanai said companies leasing land in the specific economic zone, almost all of whom are first-time investors in Myanmar, are starting with small operations with potential plans to expand later, undeterred by the country's relatively small consumer base. I ask the customers sometimes, why are you coming to us? The Myanmar market is small and still not so developed, he said. But the companies say once you set up a factory, other competition cannot come because you have dominated the market. Thanks again for listening to Voice of Rohingya Radio, a weekly news program bringing you up-to-date information about the Rohingya people in Myanmar. You can catch our broadcasts every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time here in the United States at youtube.com/VOR Radio, or you can join our page on Facebook to find more information on the program. Join us next week when I'll be speaking with the Director General of the Arakan Rohingya Union, Dr. Professor Waqar Uddin, who will be giving us updates from the situation on the ground in Myanmar. For Voice of Rohingya Radio, this is Zach Taylor, signing out.